space! He deserves to die!
No! We don't decide who lives and dies.
This is The 100. It's a show, if you haven't seen it, about humanity surviving in space after a nuclear war devastated the planet 100 years ago.
Sorry, this has to be public.
It begins with a group of teenagers being sent down from said space station to the Earth below. The reason? The space station is dying, and they need the teenagers, who are criminals, to see if Earth is survivable. Otherwise, they need to start killing people on the space station to preserve oxygen. It was a show that ran from 2014 to 2020 on the CW, and it was developed by this guy, Jason Rothenberg. This is a pretty dark show, and I remember having nightmares from the first time I watched it. But I pushed through, and I figured out that this show has a lot to say about what makes a good leader. It also has a lot to say about what people in positions of authority have to do to keep humanity alive in the absolute worst situation possible. Now, almost everyone on the internet who I've seen talk about this show usually talks about the story, maybe the character arcs, the pacing or the writing. Maybe they talk about who's the most likable character. Why did so-and-so have to die? Why did the writers make so-and-so do something so stupid? But there are corners of the fandom that talk about who the best leader characters are in the series. And while this is closer to what I'm looking for, the conversation isn't quite as deep as I'd like it to be. It's still centered on so-and-so is the most inspiring, or so-and-so is the most level-headed, or so-and-so is very charismatic. Now these are important, and we will be going through all the main characters and what their character arcs and trajectories are, what their strengths are and what their weaknesses are. But I don't think the question is what character traits do they have. The question is, how do they become leaders? How do they maintain power around them? How do they manage the people around them? Who's the best at talking? Who's the best politician? Who's the best organizer? Who is the best public speaker? Who is the best military tactician? Who has the best sense of timing? These are the kinds of questions this series will ask and hopefully answer. Now, a big disclaimer. This is a TV show. As such, the quality of the answers we'll get are dependent on how good the writers are at writing leadership problems. Some of it won't be realistic. However, I think it's good enough. This is me. I am not an expert politician or warrior. I have never had to fight to become the leader of a peer group in a wilderness survival situation. I'm just a guy with a beard standing on a mailbox who likes talking about power politics. What we'll be doing for this series is going through the show, scene by scene, moment by moment, and we'll figure out how exactly the leaders get to where they are. What do they say? What do they do? What do they have to make happen? The questions we'll be asking are 1. How do you become the leader of your peer group? 2. How do you survive one-on-one power politics? 3. How do you stay in power? 4. How do you isolate your opponents? 5. How do you be a good persuader? And 6. How do you give good speeches? I am really excited for where this series could go, and I hope you'll join me on that journey. Hit like, subscribe to this channel, and I hope you have an absolutely amazing day.
Brave princess.